The Butt Kicker Gamer 2. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
For most sim racers, fantasy tracks were relatively common as they started with more entry-level games. But for iRacing, the dedication to realism makes them almost non-existent, except for iRacing Superspeedway. This cartoonishly large and fast oval takes up everything up to 11 as we get ready to see who can handle and watch round 8 of the PRL Truck Series. You'll see it all live. You're on RaceSpotTV. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Dylan Coyle. And Dylan, this schedule that we've had has really taken us a few different places, and I love the variety we've got this season, but this is like nothing else we've been to.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Joe. I just completely kept looking over the fact that we were going to iRacing Superspeedway, and we're here. And this is going to be a wild night. What in the world? What a place to go to, a 3-mile super speedway. I mean, goodness me, this is going to be some intense racing. And goodness, you know what we will have to worry about, though? The pacing time, because that's going to be a long pace time, at least in the PRL Truck Series, because we're not going to be there later tonight in the Grand National Series.
Yeah, any wreck is going to take some time for them to get around, that is for sure. But it still counts towards the championship, and you have to try and avoid the chaos. Right now in the Drivers' Championship, Steve Loving is leading Dennis Faircloth, who was not here last time out. So Dennis is going to have to play catch-up after he has that goose egg there. Granted, he does have the drop week helping him, so that's why he's not farther down in the points with only a 19-point gap. Brett Adams also still pretty close, and he's been pretty quick this season. So keep an eye out on him as we get through these last few rounds, because he could be a serious threat. Now, we also have a teams championship in this series here. Dylan, why don't you take us through that?
Yeah, Team CPR right now with the 46-point lead over DDI Motorsports 44 Ever. And that's a pretty healthy lead at this point in the season. Obviously, a few things here or there can change, but with 3 races left, I don't know if it's going to change too much. It's going to take a massive effort from the DDI drivers there. Adams Family Racing, though, they don't have a chokehold on P3. As a matter of fact, it's between Adams Family Racing and Loaded Dice Racing. And really, you can involve Regenboog Motorsports in that battle as well. So lots of action in the top 5. But other than that, everything is kind of settled at this point. But we do have a little something called the playoffs. And with this fact being this is the middle race in the round of 8, we got 2 races remaining here before we get the championship race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. What a wild place for a finale. Here's what it looks like. And as to note, Joe, Alan Dice has actually reportedly dropped out of this series for his own reasons. Hope everything is good with him. But that would mean that looks like there's going to be another position left in the championship for a driver currently underneath the cut line, which I don't know if that makes it less or more intense for Karakov and Panzarella, because they can, and even Dalton Geyer, they can still be one of the drivers on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think it'll still keep them on their toes. I think things are not certain there, but it should relieve some of the stress, as one driver will probably continue to drop down as the season plays on. But nothing is guaranteed, especially in a playoff format where everything can go awry so quickly. Before we do get to the racing, we do want to mention that this series is sponsored by Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. It's also brought to you by Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. And of course, there is the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance, and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. And let's not forget Muradness. Muradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit muradness.com. And lastly, there's Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moment from your hobby up to 8K resolution. It's a great addition to any sim room. Looks like qualifying has actually just wrapped up, and the drivers now gridding up, and up on the top of them, it is going to be Kevin McGarvey, who took the pole over Matthew Karakov. I'm not sure that the track position will mean as much here, but he should hopefully at least be ahead of some of the chaos at the start. Dalton Geyer will start from third, as Brett Adams will begin from P4, and Stephen Kirby will be fifth. Steve Loving a little farther down in sixth position, followed by Mike Witt on the inside of the next row. Robert Goff will be in eighth spot. Then you've got Oliver Goff starting right next to him in ninth, and Jake Maki will be 10th. Then on row 6, it's John Mankowski, flanked by Richard Pruitt.
We continue moving down the lineup with Ryan Traver starting in P13 and Timothy Emmanuel starting alongside him in 14th. Zachary Austin 15th. Blaine Adam rounds out row 8, while Dylan Schmidt and Thomas Brendel round out the top 18. We continue moving on back with Christopher Tope in 19th. Mark Kalin, the first of the drivers who did not set a time in qualifying, in 20th. Dallas Sullivan and Garrett Austin in row 11, with Zach Panzarella and Colton Easterday rounding out the top 24. How about we just ended here? Edward Peltz and Stacy Hunter round out the rest of the field.
Half a dozen drivers did not set times. It's pretty common for these super speedways for drivers to want to start from the back and just try to give themselves some room. I have to imagine, especially with how blocky these trucks are and a little less power than the cup level and things such as that, that the draft is going to be felt from a long way back in these machines.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is going to be such a wild affair tonight. There are no restrictor plates in Truck Series races, but there's definitely not here. They're going to be a full speed throughout every part of this track. You know, when you do reach max speed, top speed here, especially going into the corners, there's a bit of a drop off, right? Where you start to feel it in the truck, the balance shifts, and it gets difficult to handle, difficult to control. So excited for this race to get underway. This pace lap is a quick pace lap, but still, I mean, they're kind of flying right now. Still, though, they got a long way to go.
Yeah, so they'll have this one pace lap, but I mean, let's talk about the differences, because I mean, we've been to Daytona, we've been to Talladega, everybody's familiar with that. This place, really its own beast. I mean, you look at it, that's like 6 or 7 lanes wide, and then on top of it, it's 3 miles long at 36-degree banking. This is a monster of a track.
Yeah, this is the monster of a track. in iRacing. It's going to be difficult to make moves if you don't do it in corner entry. It's so easy to have your truck drift up just a little bit and not maximize your cornering speed. This pace lap almost done. We're about to go green flag racing here when this pace car moves down pit road.
And right now, McGarvey on that pole position in the 77. I'm sure anxious to get things going. You'll see speeds of up to 215 miles an hour in these trucks. They go incredibly fast around here. And like I said, don't be too surprised if we find ourselves at times 7 wide sometimes on restarts. But we'll see how many lanes they choose to go with as the green flag is out. And we are racing in the truck series. And right now, down into turn 1, it does look like everybody's making sure to just get these things up to speed before chaos ensues.
Yeah, there will be chaos that ensues in this race. We're estimated to make 48 laps if it stays green the whole way. But I got to tell you, Joe, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I'd be very shocked, pleasantly surprised if we get green all the way through. You never know. Maybe everyone is going to play it safe all the way to that last lap. But I wouldn't count on it as we start to now get up to speed. 217 for McGarvey as he gets pushed 219 down into the corner. So there's some of your max speeds that you're starting to see. Look at him fan out. Somebody going all the way up to the outside there.
Yeah, 24 goes way up high through the corner. He's going to struggle a little bit. Richard Pruitt, that was. But you see all these trucks just trying to get connected and trying to move up. Look at that closing speed for the trucks that aren't necessarily connected from front to back of each truck. You see that drop-off going in turn 1? It kind of sets the truck going down low there.
Yeah, kind of a dip down into the bottom of the banking. And, well, they don't need to drift up to keep the speed. It is so steep around here, so everybody probably wanting to get down to the bottom for that shortest line. You could see a few more trucks starting to drift to that bottom, though a few of them are working high as they almost fan out like a fin or a wing. And we got a caution, it looks like, for John Mankowski in the back.
Massive hit for John Mankowski. That's going to be terminal and race over for the driver of the 93 machine, the Whataback Racing car. Mankowski started this race, I think, in the back of the field, and obviously it's not going to be a great feeling for him to be out of it so early on. But caution is underway. These pace laps, yes, they're going to be long, but at the same time, they do go around here pretty quickly behind the pace car.
Looks like 2 other cars were involved in that. Yeah, you can see there's one. And then Tope, you just saw him flash by. Tope had a magnificent save. I hope we can maybe reel it back for his moment because he didn't hit anything and he was sideways for a long time. But he'll carry on. Mankowski started from 11th, actually. And it looks like Garrett Austin, the 34, I think may have been the other car involved. So here's on board with Tope. Woo! And looking at the bottom of the banking for a long time before finally he catches it and he'll get it back going.
Yeah, I would say that if this track was a real life thing, I'd say, yeah, bring it down pit road and let's take a look at the underside of that car because the dampers, the springs, just the whole suspension is probably broken. Oh, man! Yeah, that's toast.
Skin of his teeth. And he is, let's see, where is Tope now? He's still in 19th, so he hasn't gone in. He seems to think that the car is okay. So yeah, he'll carry on. He may have gotten clipped a little bit, but it looks like it was at the right angle as Panzarella's going to be pitting along with Stacy Hunter and Ryan Traver. So a few drivers taking the call to maybe go a little bit different strategy here, but we'll see if that works out for them or not.
Yeah, I mean, the real thing you want to do here at a race like this probably is fuel, because you're going sub 1 minute laps, 3 miles each, really quickly. 3 miles gets you around, well, with the pace of this race, probably go, what would you say, like 28 laps on a single tank of fuel. right now, I mean, we're still under yellow, and I don't know if we're gonna have enough green flag race laps to really necessitate the pitting for fuel. Right now, if we went green the rest of the way, yeah. We're not.
I mean, we got, what was it, 2 laps in there, about a lap and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we wrecked. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it could spread out and things could calm down. You never know. But you're right. If we go green, they probably will need a pit stop. But we'll see who plays what on that front, because obviously that'll play a big part. And in your pit strategy is, what are the yellows looking like? As the lights are still on the pace car, and Kevin McGarvey is still your leader with Dalton Geyer behind him up at the top of the field. Didn't really see much changing around, but we did see 2 lanes, which is interesting to me. They have all that room to spread out, and I would have thought that we'd quickly see a 3rd lane start to form up as drivers, a few drivers in the back maybe think, we could make up ground easily if we team up.
Yeah, and it's going to be easy to make up ground if you have drivers who cooperate with each other. I don't know if we'll see drivers cooperate with each other, though. That's the big thing. You feel like things change at an instant here, in an instant, and why would you potentially suffer from working with another driver if you feel like you can make up positions quickly? Now, if you start to see gaps from the front group with the rest and you're in the back, yeah, maybe you do that. I just don't see it happening too much here, but the lights are off on the pace car. We'll get back to green flag racing this time by.
Yes, we will indeed, and we've already lost 2 drivers from that one incident, Mankowski and Austin. These are typically not small accidents when you do have wrecks here because of the high speeds. So don't be too surprised if we do get more attrition throughout the day. McGarvey going to be leading that bottom line when we get the restart. Will anybody try and overtake him and get up to that top spot? Or are they going to let him lead like the Pied Piper for a bunch of laps just to start to get things on its way here? Those who had pitted have caught up. Traver, Panzarella, and Hunter are lined up at the back of the field with just a little bit more fuel on board than their rivals. Will that also play a part in this as time goes by? Out of turn 4 and drifting back around to not quite flat, as the straightaways are still banked here as well. Pace car ducks in. McGarvey has control, and he's on the loud pedal. Green flag is out as we once again start to accelerate away. Ooh, McGarvey has actually jumped ahead of the group a little bit. He may live to regret that.
Yeah, that's a big difference. You see all that speed coming from the back. Brett Adams is going to just slot in line as they go down the hill into turn 1. That closing speed is immense here. I mean, it's pretty much, if you're in front, if you're in first, you're hitting this huge bit of air, and the faster these trucks are, the more of a parachute it's going to feel like in the back, and everyone else will benefit if you are just in that hole that is punched in the air.
Surprisingly, Adams did not elect to go around him. I think he easily could have chosen to do so, but hooked up with McGarvey once he had caught the rear spoiler. As once again, we get trucks going all different ways here. Now we're seeing the 3 wide start to happen. But the other facet of that is I really don't see much in the way of lines. It's more like clumps of drivers.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by how quickly things can change here. Talladega, Daytona, yeah, the banking is high. Yeah, there's super speedways. And yeah, you can fit a lot of cars in one spot, and particularly Dega. But here, I mean, look how wide this track surface is. There is so much room to just jostle around and just move up and down. And here's the other thing that differs from Talladega and Daytona. This is, a gigantic paperclip, if you will, while Daytona and Talladega have triovals. So maybe that plays into the differences just a little bit.
Yeah, corners go on for a little bit longer, at least in terms of degree. Although I think, like you said, it's a paperclip, so I think the straightaways are also longer in that sense. So maybe you spend less time in the corners, at least in terms of lengthwise. But regardless, it's still McGarvey at the point on the bottom lane. Top lane has not been able to group together as well to try and catch them up. Jake Maki in the number 14 is leading that second line as we hop on board with him.
Let's see this speed difference. He's getting pushed in the back, really connected right there with the 39 of Timothy Emmanuel, but a little bit of a disconnect as they go through turns 3 and 4. He'll just fall a little bit more behind until he gets another push. But just, it's so uncomfortable coming off corner exit where everybody is still moving around to the left and the right. You want to be connected right up against that rear bumper if you are hitting them. Watch this. Boom! They just bottom out right there, and just the slightest of adjustments on the wheel, Joe, it churns this truck a lot.
Maki's just about got the lead. Oh, but the bumps up at the front are not looking very steady. You definitely want that to be nice and steady as we watch from Colton Easterday. He's currently in 5th position, 3rd in line on the top side right now. So that is Emmanuel, who you mentioned a bit ago, who is in front of him between himself and Maki. Starting to see that 3rd line behind them try to creep up the outside as well as the middle line right now has about 5 trucks together.
Yeah, middle line is trying to get some work done. Look at that concentration right there, and you see that smaller group in the back. They'll probably start to work together as Stacy Hunter with a 46.433. It's unbelievable that they're lapping quicker on a 3-miler than they would at a 2.5 or 2.66 miler in Daytona Talladega. Oh, big moves! Yeah, that was uncomfortable. Yikes! Get it together, hold it, save it. They did that, and that was a hard-in-the-mouth moment for sure.
That was Easterday and Emmanuel that nearly collided, and Colton abandons that top line now. I don't blame him. He's going to go down behind the 22 of Brindle. And they come around off of 4 onto the front stretch. Once again, the second line fades. The third line looks like it is completely dissipated as well. And so far, it looks like down at the bottom is where you want to be. Although, wow, second line is regrouped. Look at him go down the front straight here. Emmanuel was given a huge push to Maki.
Yeah, but now you get a little bit too far out in front, and you see that third line. Trucks are wanting to get moving, keep their momentum up. Oh, almost went right from the right quarter panel into the side of it. The 46, though, is a little bit hung out to dry. If Dallas Sullivan has some help now, but, I mean, they're really separated. Oh, they're going to almost wreck. They're wrecking big time.
Oh, Mike Witt gets involved in that one. Easterday sneaks through, but the big one has now occurred. Blaine Adams involved. Brett Adams in there. Stephen Kirby looks like he got caught up in it. There is a lot of names, unfortunately. Caution, obviously, is out, and you called it at the start of that. Just cars making contact, and unfortunately, it devolved eventually.
Yeah, and again, remember, when they go into the corner and then they bottom out, they get unsettled, and they're trying to save it, all while maybe going 3 wide, and you saw the gaps, and people were struggling a little bit. That was pretty much everyone from 10th on back that had a problem there. I think only the top 9 got away with it. This race, I mean, it presents a great opportunity. As you see, oh yeah, what a huge mess. Almost everybody can't get away from that. Good job slowing it down, going through the grass. You don't want to get involved there. And, of course, that was Stephen Kirby in the 109 getting through there. So this presents a really good opportunity to some of the guys who are on the outside looking in big time in this playoff picture. Of course, Garrett Austin, who needed a win no matter what, is going to be in last place as this race is all said and done. But, you know, you get a driver like Colton Easterday, comes into this race 27 points behind the cup line in this playoff picture, and he just avoided a huge wreck with a bunch of trucks. In 5th, they're going to come down pit road, get some tires, and should be on, or excuse me, fuel, and should be on their way. I don't expect to see tires taken here. Here's a replay.
So there's more cars getting involved. Oof, going up and over on top of things. I didn't see that the first time. But Dalton Geyer got through, and Schmidt, also Dylan Schmidt, managed to make his way through without hitting anything, which is kind of impressive with how chaotic it was in there. But like you said, everybody now pitting in. It probably makes sense at this stage. Might as well take the fuel guarantee that you're good to the end, not lose much compared to everybody else. Is down into his stall late. Stephen Kirby eventually reaches his position and exiting out. First one to the line going to be McGarvey ahead of Emmanuel. So we've got the replay from onboard Schmidt. This is probably where you just close your eyes.
Or if you like to get jump scared. No.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. He dealt with the jump scare pretty well. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Just picked a lane, and it worked out in the end. Went down to the bottom, and it opened up for him, and he snuck through without any sort of damage. So everybody now out of pit lane, save for a few getting damage repaired. Looks like actually quite a few getting damage repaired. My goodness, and we might have a number of them that are officially out of this race after this as well. Yeah, Richard Pruitt, Mike Witt, Mark Kalin, John Mankowski from the previous incident, along with Austin. I see Stacy Hunter and Robert Goff also taking repairs, but they have black and orange flags, so they are probably going to be in there for quite some time, since that will be required repairs for them, and we don't know how badly the engine and other parts are damaged that they have to sit and wait for that to wrap up. So how many will we have on track? It's like about 14 cars, I think I'm seeing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, are we shocked? Are we surprised? It should help with the attrition rate, or like going forward, I guess you could say, keeping it green. There's no need to have to go into the pits at any point remaining here. Here's a replay. So it looked like there was a bit of contact between second and third, Kevin McGarvey, as well as I believe it was Timothy Emmanuel at that time. They kind of body checked each other, and got everybody uneasy very quickly in behind, and they just couldn't handle it. Look at that. Just not many trucks in the picture right now.
Yeah, it has thinned the herd, if you will. So
are we shocked?
Fewer drivers maybe will mean cleaner racing, as that will mean less things to hit out there. But we'll see. Obviously, that happened up at the front last time, so it collected a lot of drivers. And we might see a few that take a big hit in the championship, as we heard Dylan alluding to a little bit earlier. About a third of the way through this race, so they still have to do a fair bit to try and sort this one out. So hopefully they've learned their lesson from that previous time. What was interesting is the way that the cars did seem to get a little looser as it went on, because it is a warm day out on the track surface itself at 100 plus. There you see it there, that it is 80 Fahrenheit air temperature, but 105 on the track. The pace car is in, and they're waiting for the call from the flag stand. There it is. Green flag is out. McGarvey going once again for the second time. He takes off quite a bit. Now, will the driver behind him do the same thing this time?
Yeah, that's it's fairly far in front, but I guess when there's fewer trucks in the field, you're not too concerned, as currently everyone who's on track is either in the top 14 on the lead lap, or in the case of, for example, Matthew Karikoff, just one lap down. So wild. Only 15 trucks in this one. And hey, Karikoff, if there's another caution, he gets the free pass, remember?
And Maki just basically went up to the high side and said, bye. If you're going to get a jump on the field, I'm just going to take some friends with me. Emmanuel now actually leading, though, on the high side. So will he be able to put one over on Maki? He is clear if he wants to jump down to the bottom, but he's got such great help from behind. Maybe he doesn't want to abandon this and stay on the top side. McGarvey's down in 6 after that. And I think Panzarella on the backstretch was the one you saw below the yellow line, dropping to the back, saying, I want no part of this.
This is such an amazing opportunity for some of these guys to get their first ever PRL win. I mean, simply talking, for example, the top two. They've never won in PRL competition. Emmanuel and Mackie, as Sullivan moves in the second. So Yeah, some people will say, hey, it's iRacing Super Speedway. It's the whole Daytona Talladega thing. Oh, as you saw in the back, there was almost contact there. But you still survive the mess, and you still race with some of the best. And this race, fewer drivers right now, but I'll tell you what, it's still got the potential to be just as crazy as there's a big shove into the back there. Get moving, bud.
Yeah, I think that was a push on Maki from Geyer, wanting him to hurry up a little bit. They've got Zach Austin also, but it is switched around. Top line seems to be the favored one as they've been leading the last couple laps. It is Emmanuel Sullivan and McGarvey that are pushing up there on that front spot. McGarvey seems to be a consistent character in this story so far. At the front of the field is down at the bottom, someone else dropping backwards. That's Dalton Geyer, maybe getting himself a bit more clear air.
Yeah, as you just look to the 77 slid up just a tad over there. He's getting a little bit uneasy. He's looking down low. He's looking to the outside. He's like, I'll just stay in line. No reason to really push it at this point, right? You still got under 20 minutes to go here. Still a lot of racing action left in this one. Probably another 24, 25 laps if we stay green, which, I mean, that might be at the end of the fuel run.
Colton Easterday decides to abandon that line in the number 9. Comes to the bottom. He'll become the point man there. If Austin was the one that was supposed to work with him, but Austin gave him a pass and will hook up with Jake Maki instead. And it's going to be, I think, Dalton Geyer that eventually starts to push Colton Easterday there on the bottom. As we watch the 46 of Sullivan here in second place behind Emmanuel. Once again, seems like that top line is the place to be. Now, that little blip that you saw coming out of the corner, that was just a bit of internet connection issues for one of our drivers. Thankfully, we did not actually have an accident.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
You know, it's always disconcerting, right? When drivers come out of each corner, they kind of bounce up off the roller coaster ride. You know what it reminds me of? Dover, a little bit.
Yes.
Where you go into the corners and you kind of dip down and then jump back up the hill on corner exit. See this good look here at the back of Timothy Emmanuel, Dallas Sullivan right there, first and second. These two drivers, I mean, how big, again, would it be for Emmanuel to get his first win here?
I'm sure he's got that on his mind, knowing this is such a perfect opportunity for that. Someone trying to start a third line, but nobody's going with him. Trying to make out who that is. I think that's Ryan Traver up on the top side in the 03. But again, nobody really doing anything. He comes back down and hooks up with Jake Maki once more. Jake has been another one that we keep seeing and mentioning quite a bit. So keep an eye on that number 14. I think he could be a major player once we get to the end, as long as he can stay out of trouble. Easier said than done, as we've reiterated multiple times.
What's pretty impressive here is with all of the drivers that have bowed out of this race already, we still have currently 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd in the playoff standings still in this race. Remember, 2nd is Alan Dice, but he will not be taking part in the rest of this season, so that opens up that extra playoff spot for the championship 4. The only driver who is out of this race, even Steve Loving, is Karakol, is he's going a lap down, or 2 laps down here, so that's bad for his chances. He's got a slow track right there, but Loving's still out there as well, but he's into the championship 4, courtesy of his win last week. Garrett Austin's the only one really who entered this race and is out of this race from the playoff 8.
Good catch on that. And yeah, about Karakov, he's only maxing out at about, it looks like 195 miles an hour. Remember, rest of the pack, right now I'm looking at the front of it, 225 miles per hour.
That's so crazy.
He is a bullet out there. When they get together in a pack, apparently these things just pick up immense speed. As remember, we were looking at 215 earlier on. Out of turn 2, once again, Emmanuel leads the top line, and it looks like that is that Maki leading the low line? No, that is Austin leading the bottom side.
Yeah, and now this is the first time we've seen 2 distinct lines form with very few other lines being out there you see how disconnected they get when they get into that corner. So they're trying to kind of get reasserted there, but they jump up the hill, they come close together. I feel like the move here is to not be leading this race when you're coming out of turn 4 in the final lap.
Oh my goodness. When we get to that checkered flag, if it's a green flag lap, it's going to be something, because everybody's going to go for it with it being such a wide circuit. I'm sure even the person in last place will fancy their chances. So we come back to the backstretch once again and down the straight. Still on that very high side, Ryan Traver keeps trying to get a third lane started. Nobody will go with him, and he drops right back to the end of the high train. So not sure what he's trying, what he's thinking here, but he's got to get a friend at some point.
Yeah, needs a friend for sure, and I don't think trying to make it 3 wide at this point is going to do much to help you out, as we still see some jockeying for position. Colton Easterday in that 9, second on the inside. This would be probably the most consequential win for everybody in the playoff picture, and for himself, obviously, as he currently entered this race, actually, if you want to really look at it, 27 points out of the final round, championship 4 in these playoffs. And big thing about Easterday is not only would a win get him into the championship 4, it would be his first ever PRL win.
Tells you something about it. Yeah, it tells you something about his consistency too.
Mm-hmm.
He still hasn't had a win, and yet here he is, close to making the last 4 of the season, of the entire year, really. And Ryan Traver getting on the radio saying, "We'll go whenever you're ready." Not sure who he was talking to. He's got Loving in front of him, and he's now jumped to the very bottom behind Loving in that number 27. There you can see them on screen now out of turn 2. They've also got a few in behind them. Panzarella, who we saw drop earlier intentionally, Kirby, and then Dylan Schmidt behind them. So maybe those 4 will try and hook up. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, at this point, you know, there's still a lot of laps potentially remaining in this race. You got to ask yourself, when does the intensity go up a notch? Does it go up before the 5-minute mark, where we know that you still might have one more lap if a caution came out at that point? Does it go up after we go past the point of no return, where if there's a caution that's under, 4.5, 5 minutes, something like that, then these drivers aren't going to be able to get restarted under green flag conditions? So I think the racing intensity picks up with around 8 minutes to go here. It's already intense, right? It's already going to see some wild action. We still might see a wreck coming into this corner even, but even then, I feel like they're just riding around for now. They got to make it there first before they can actually start to compete in wild ways.
They are coming up on some more traffic. The Adams family trucks are back out and working together, but they're also very off the pace, very damaged. So not anticipating much able to be done by them, other than just trying to stay out of the way of this group so that they don't cause an incident. Still very distinct lines on top and on bottom for quite some laps now. Here we go. They're going to sneak on by. Nicely done. And there's Karakov once again. Everybody's got to stay a little low on the exit, but everybody seems to be aware of the situation. And thankfully, no drama.
Yet. 12 minutes. Yeah, I think drama is still to come here. I think drama is still to come in this one, but anyone in the top 14 can win this race still.
Yeah, anybody on the lead lap has got an equal shot, without a doubt. That's the main goal, I imagine, for every one of these trucks, is just hang with this front group, stay on the lead lap, and hope that it stays green to the end from here so that they can try and get this sorted out rather than winding up under yellow. And it's whoever was ahead when that caution is thrown, which is a possibility. They do not have green-white checkers in this series because of it being a timed race. That said, we have recently had multiple one-lap shootouts right at the very end of these races. The timing just consistently keeps seeming to work out. So if the racing gods keep having that sense of humor, you just never know.
Racing gods are quite funny. they tend to have their way of doing things. You see them kind of just taking a peek, maybe a third row getting set up. You know, if they don't have a run, they're just hurting themselves by taking a peek down the inside, you know? They're hitting such a big wall of air, and it slows those trucks down mightily. Look at that outside line doing some work.
Yeah, they've now got 3 trucks clear. At one point, they were almost all 5 of them clear at the bottom line. Kind of wondered if they were going to drop to the bottom when that happened, but nothing quite yet. I feel like they maybe could if they didn't really care much about that 5th car in line. That's Christopher Tope, but not sure what all sort of alliances are working out here in this series. Which teams are working together? That was a little sketchy there for somebody on the bottom. Oh, and we do have a wreck with Tope.
Huge mess.
Easter Day involved. Traver looks like he gets into it. Panzarella gets hit. Oh my goodness. So this starts in the middle of the pack. Not sure if somebody got loose or if they just thought they were given driver clear. Looks like it was contact between Easter Day and Tope, actually.
We'll have to wait until we see this replay. Now, here we go. Easter Day trying to come back up, but hesitated ever so slightly. That's a huge mistake in a position where he could have won to move into the next round, and unfortunately, it looks like that's not going to happen for Easter Day. I don't know if he had too much damage, at least to the front, to damage that speed, but I mean, any bit of damage here, any lack of horsepower is going to be so detrimental. So bad for him, and that's disappointing. But, you know, it leaves the door open still to get a good points day if he still is able to ride around here, because look at how many drivers are already out of this race and laps down themselves. If he can just, you know, coast, that's still a decent points day for him, at least for Season 4 standings, but it's not going to do him much good in the playoffs.
No, and this continues to dwindle down. The number of drivers is just about everybody's coming in. A couple are staying out. Also, apologies, that's Chris Tepp is how that name is pronounced. Also, Stephen Kirby, who you see staying out, had a very good save. We're going to see from his perspective here. We'll see it start to erupt. We'll get some smoke probably as some sort of warning. A few trucks bouncing around. Where does he go? Where does he go? He checks up. Oh, he has a little contact. Weaves his way through the rest of it, but
that's still impressive.
Yeah, the biggest hope for him is probably just that he didn't damage the nose too badly.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty impressive nonetheless. It looked like a pretty sizable hit, though, so nonetheless, it looks fine. That's a little bit of luck right there, too.
Now, only Kirby and Austin were the 2 to stay out. Everybody else pitted. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to do them as much good as they will hope, but I don't think the fuel should be too short for them. They've only been out for about 18 laps. We got 7 minutes left, and not every one of those minutes are going to be under green flag conditions anyways, because we still have to wait for the 1 to go signal here. And as we've seen, pace laps last quite some time around this track. I think it's almost a minute 30 to a minute 40 to circulate behind the pace car. Look how many damaged trucks there are still running. Brett Adams, I mentioned earlier, looking like almost a modified version of these NASCAR trucks.
Wasn't it Eric Jones who won the Clash at Daytona a few years ago and had the most damaged race car in existence?
I can't recall off the top of my head, but sometimes weird things do happen, but that truck is also multiple laps down, so I don't think, and he's taking more repairs, it looks like, so I don't think he's likely to win this one. In fact, I don't know if anybody even got the lucky dog on that last one. I have not even been paying attention to that in this race.
It's not your job.
I mean, it kind of is. I'm the commentator.
Yeah. I wasn't either.
And
both of us are fired. Let's have our producer Dustin take over.
There you go. It's the number 20 you were talking about that that took that win.
Look at that damage.
Well, that we can see, the audience can't
Right, no
see.
one else can
Yeah.
see. That's okay. We're only worried about us. But base lights are out, and we're gonna see some good old-fashioned, bumper cars here. We might be able to go one lap before we reach that point of no return, but the intensity, you can bet it's going to be high here. Easter Day is still running 7, so who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be tight on if we can get that lap in or if it'll end it with the next caution. It could give us that one lap to go thing again, that one lap shootout. Looks like 12 cars will be on the lead lap when we restart. Not all of them, I think, are going to have clean trucks, which means we'll have to keep an eye out on who's dropping pace because, yes, you could hold on to the slipstream, but if you don't have the straight line speed, probably going to have a hard time trying to dash to the front to take the win unless you got some help. But we'll see how it all plays out as they are now double file. And what started with 25 cars racing in this race has now dwindled down to, it looks like, about 15 or so. Pace car getting ready to head in and unleash Austin and Kirby, the two that decided not to pit this time out. There it is. Green flag is out. Well, I thought it was. They were starting to accelerate. There we go. Now we're on our way, and Austin starts to get going. Thankfully, I'm not seeing any black flags off of that because I thought we had to worry about a jump start. And looks like Austin and Kirby are actually working together because they immediately went single file.
Yeah, for now, but we'll see if everyone gets back up to speed, what they're going to be able to do with just minutes remaining in this race, and win gets you in the playoffs, and a win or just a good points day can do a lot more for your confidence. As you see drivers pulling to the outside, Dallas Sullivan goes into the lead, would be the most anticlimactic winner ever, as, oh man, a little bit of contact right there between Austin and I think that was Traver. No, that was a 109 of Stephen Kirby.
Yeah, Austin and Kirby are two that were on the front row. Austin, it was just dropped like a bad habit and is falling back. Kirby as well. So Sullivan now getting the huge push from Emmanuel. Maki getting dropped back a little bit because he has no help. Kirby's going to go with him as in the middle, still trying to play catch up. Zach Austin now drops to the bottom side. He'll take the point on the low line.
Yeah, this is going to get a lot more wild before this race ends. They're still shuffling it around.
Oh.
They're wrecking big time. 45 is turned. Do we stay green? No, yellow is out. Race is going to end.
Yeah, that I think should end it. I was just thinking we were at the point of no return. I'm going to be honest. I think what Zach was trying to do was a side draft, but that has to be one of the most haphazard side drafts I've ever seen.
Nah, little contact. Hurt nobody except, well, it did. It totally did. Yeah, just guy into the wall.
I mean, I try to save criticism because the drivers are in the car. It's easy for me to be an armchair quarterback from up here, but I was just a little bit disappointed because he just kept going over and going over, and it's like at some point you gotta stop, bud. I'm sure your spotter is saying car right.
Yeah, but just keep moving over. It's okay.
Pinching doesn't always work this way.
moving.
Just, I mean, it could, to his credit, it could have been a little bit of net code, and maybe the car's tangled a bit, and that's what sent him further right. We don't know everything, so I'll try to give him the benefit of the doubt. But it looked a little silly, unfortunately, and like you said, it does look like this will end our race.
Nah, we're kind of all knowing. We know exactly.
I wish that was the case.
Oh man, well,
I got some lottery numbers for you in that end.
okay. Is it is question? Does that lottery number start with number 14? Because Jake Mackey is about to win his first ever PRL race. As I don't think that's netcode.
Yeah. From that angle,
Not much.
maybe a little bit involved in it, but as our director in the background said, I concur with him. He said it probably would have happened anyways. And yeah, sometimes cars are on a trajectory in iRacing, and even if they don't physically touch, that wreck was going to happen.
Just a tad, just a little bit. It's unfortunate that that's the way that this race at iRacing Super Speedway has to end, but
I think this is white flag, maybe. We didn't get it officially on our tower, but
Right.
if it's a minute 30 and it was about a minute 20, theoretically the zero should come and the white flag should actually come out well before we get to the finish line, so we won't have an extra pace lap.
it is a shame that this is a common occurrence, though, in PRL races where, you know, there's so often that we reach the last 4 or 5 minutes and then we're just pacing around waiting for this race to be over. So many times you feel like there should be an exciting finish in a PRL race, but because of the timed session and some of the rules along that, sometimes we just have to enter under yellow. So
Yeah.
maybe something to look back, maybe change some rules in the off season. But
Well, personally, I'm okay with it because one thing, as fun as green-white checkers can be sometimes, to me, sometimes racing just, that's how it goes. And you have to be considerate of the yellows if you want to win the race. In the case of Jake Maki, he was the right place at the right time.
I feel like I'd bet that almost 50% of PRL races in truck and Grand National end in caution periods, which
Yes, there is
Yes.
a point where there are too many that end
Right.
that way. But I'm okay with some races
Me too.
winding
Me
up finishing
too.
under yellow. Yeah.
Me too. Like the redacted 500 that gets red flagged every lap. And
Don't even get me started. Looks like we are indeed getting the white flag. So as we come to the line, Jake Maki taking his first ever win. Yes, it's a super speedway race, but he was a contender almost all race long up at the front. Victory for the number 14 here at this fantasy track on iRacing.
good old iRacing Super Speedway, keeping it unique and interesting. Oh, by the way, we're going. for
Checking
one
to see
more
if we
lap
got
of
actually got that checkered flag.
No, let me, Joe. I want to talk to you real quick. So, why are we doing this extra lap, Joe?
Not entirely sure, but it does look like it is going to make them do one more lap. We did get that white flag long before the finish line, so this might be another of those quirks of it averaging the laps. And since full course yellows changes that, I'm assuming that this is kind of borked that, since it thought that the average lap was supposed to be shorter that last time. I don't know. I'm spitballing at this point. Something that I think does need to be maybe cleaned up or something in the iRacing code to get sorted out. But we'll just get one more lap behind. It shouldn't change here. Lights might be off on the pace car, but they have let everybody know to stay single file since they're not allowed to pass before the start-finish line because they won't get any green flag racing anyways. So they don't want anybody to change positions and cause a headache for the stewards afterwards. Certainly would not want to get on their bad side, considering this, I'm sure it was already frustrating enough for them at super speedways trying to untangle the messes of who was at fault for various incidents. This time, for real, coming out of the final turn, it will now be victory for Jake Maki here in the PRL Truck Series. The pace car will peel off, but there will be no restart for Jake as we get on the loud pedal in time to see that checkered flag wave for the number 14. Nicely done to Jake Maki. And Emmanuel as well, getting himself a second place, will get some nice points.
Yeah, pretty solid result for Emmanuel, but of course he'll be wanting that just extra couple laps or extra mile or so to make a move. But nonetheless, iRacing Super Speedway, come on, you're prepping us for donuts. He had to slow down. He didn't want to.
Oh no!
Oh no!
If he was trying to do donuts, it failed miserably.
That is the worst. Oh, bang! Yeah, wow. That's what great the way to celebrate your first ever PRL win.
That sums up that race pretty well. Jake Maki, your winner after 37 laps, with Timothy Emmanuel finishing second. Stephen Kirby escaped the big wreck and got himself third, having not pitted on that last stop. Kevin McGarvey, who was our leader for much of the early race, wound up in 4th. Dallas Sullivan finishes P5. Ryan Traver was 6th, as Zach Panzarella was 7th, and Steve Loving finished P8. Then it's Edward Peltz in the 9th spot, and Colton Easterday rounds out your top 10. What are the next 10 here, Dylan?
Yeah, we got Zachary Austin and Dalton Geyer both finishing on the lead lap, with Matthew Karikoff 1 lap down, Christopher Tepp, and then Dylan Schmidt in 15th. Wayne Adams, Brett Adams. It's an Adams family party. 8 and 10 laps, or I should say 10 and 11 laps down. And we got Stacy Hunter, Mike Witt, Thomas Brendel. These drivers are the ones who just destroyed themselves early on in this one. And then the rest of the field kind of follows, where you got Goff, Pruitt, Bankowski, Austin, Caleb.
It looks like we've got Jake Mockey ready to talk to us, so we're going to have a nice conversation with the first-time winner and see how he feels about this one, if this is a satisfying win, or if he wants to maybe get something down the line and count that one as his first one. Jake, congratulations on your first win. What are the emotions? Because super speedway wins are already a bit of an interesting mixed bag, but especially one at iRacing super speedway. What are you feeling?
I'm honestly speechless right now. I'm pretty, super speedway racing is one of my specialties, but I did not expect the win here at all. This was a insane race, to be completely honest.
It looked pretty insane from our view. I mean, there was a lot of wrecks, and some of them started up way in the front. Did you have any hairy moments where you had to make some big dives?
Definitely got a little loose a couple times. Definitely cut down, which I'm hoping was clear at the time. But, super speedway racing, man. It's tricky. It's fast. What can you do?
Yeah, no doubt. So I asked earlier if you count this one as the first win, or do you want to hold until something later, or does it not matter to you?
No, it matters to me. This was awesome. I came in here this season, my first season in the PRL, not expecting to get a top 10 and to get a win. It's just unreal.
Well, congratulations. Soak it up, enjoy the victory, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you some more.
Thank you so much. A quick shout out real quick to my spotter, Will Jennings, and Joey Tebbin. Good luck, brother. Stanford. Let's go.
Great stuff there from Jake Mockey in the number 14 here at iRacing Super Speedway. Following him home in second, it was Timothy Emmanuel, who is just shy of having his own win, and I believe Dylan has caught up with Tim.
Yeah, Tim, you spent a lot of time up front in this race. Just take us through some of the I guess you could say, composure while everyone seemed to wreck around you.
Yeah, it was very chaotic to say the least, but I knew I had a good person behind me in Dallas, and I knew I could trust him to not do something to get us involved in those wrecks. And leading up to that caution where we had to pit there towards the end, I just, like I said, I had all the confidence in him to keep us in line and keep us out front and away from all that. And then fortunately that caution came out and kind of jumbled things up, and it kind of ruined our plan there at the end. But leading up to that point, like I said, it was just having somebody behind me that I knew I could trust, and that made all the difference for me right there.
Obviously close to getting your first win. Are you disappointed at all, or pretty excited with how this finished?
You're not really a racer if you're not disappointed if you don't finish first. But I mean, otherwise, yeah, I'm pumped with the P2. Doing it in loving memory of my boy Alan, but I'll take it. I want it more. I wanted that last wreck to not happen because I'm very confident that Dallas and I could have fought it out there on a drag race coming to the checker. And if I'd have lost P2 to him, it wouldn't have stung as bad, but it still would have stung. But I would much rather that have happened. But again, congratulations to Jake, though. He definitely earned it. I helped him earlier in the race, and he's somebody I felt confident pushing, so he deserved it. He was in the right place at the right time. Hats off to him for pulling it off when it mattered.
All right, Tim. Well, hey, who makes it happen for you? Who else you got to thank?
So I got to thank Black Flag Photography. It's actually my business I own. I got to thank my boys at Loaded Dice Racing and BTDY for encouraging me to show up here and get her done. I got to thank everybody that's watching. You guys for putting on a great broadcast, doing amazing interviews, and PRL for putting on a fun place to come race at on Wednesday nights.
I always love when we get thanked, Joe, as well as the commentators. But thank you so much, Tim.
Hey,
and
as a fellow media guy, I understand. Sometimes you go underappreciated, so I like to give y'all a shout out when I can.
All right, man. Well, hey, game recognized game, I guess you could say.
Hey,
But truth indeed. Tim, good job. Congrats on the second place finish.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, so we just have a couple minutes until it is time to switch over to Grand National Competition. Final thoughts here on the proceedings at iRacing Super Speedway, Joe?
We've got Stephen Kirby here, so why don't we just have a quick chat with Stephen before we jump over. So I think we're going to have a quick chat with Stephen first, but Stephen Kirby, congratulations on a podium. You avoided one of the final wrecks and you decided to stay out. Was that key in you winding up getting a podium today?
Yeah, absolutely. After that first pit stall, I started saving fuel and honestly thought I was going to be able to make it even if we stayed green. So seen no reason to come in and figured there'd be another wreck pretty quickly to follow, and that'd be the last of it.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of figured it was going to be a bit chaotic. Did this play out exactly how you expected in terms of the yellows, or was this a bit of a surprise?
Yeah, no, I kind of figured this was to be expected. I was hoping for some green flag runs there, but unfortunately it didn't happen. That's one reason I dropped to the back. It got pretty hectic there pretty early, 3 wide, so that's when the big one happened. Luckily, I was far enough back to be able to woe it up and kind of avoid the turmoil there.
Well, I don't blame you. We're going off to a track 1/3 the size. Are you looking forward to Dover next time?
Yes, can't wait. Love Dover. I've been qualifying fairly well here lately, just making dumb mistakes on the track during the race, but hopefully we can get all that straightened out and can't wait to get there.
Well, we can't wait either. Stephen, again, congratulations on a top 3.
All right, thank you.
Stephen Kirby, who took the 109 up to the podium today. Dylan, now I think we're going to be heading off to Chicagoland in a moment. But like you said, let's ruminate on this one. I mean, it was fun, if nothing else. I'll say that.
Yeah, it definitely was an enjoyable experience, but it felt like we all knew what the end result would be. There would probably be cautions that end this race under yellow, and it was fun, but with so many incidents so early on and the attrition rate in there, I think we need a little bit of a palate cleanser in case of Chicagoland, which, hey, we go there next. Look at that.
Indeed we do, and I'm excited about that. It's definitely one of the more unique circuits on the schedule. So they're actually just starting the qualifying now, but let's go over some of the situation championship-wise on that before we get there. Starting with the schedule, of course, and there you see Chicagoland Speedway, followed also by Dover, both series meeting up once again at the same track, and then we'll wrap up at Auto Club. Good place to end the season, Auto Club. That should be fun. But looking at the championship, Richard Regan Jr. ahead of Abner Acosta. Now, this one is interesting because of the fact that Acosta had a bit of a bad time back at Phoenix. So he has dropped a bit in comparison to Richard. He's got to rebound here if he wants to get back into this. Bradley Holly is done much better by taking the victory, but Richard Regan Jr. also only 25 points. Not quite as bad as what Abner did, but also suffering a bit of a blow. It's tightened up between Holly and his competitors, which is nothing too unusual. We also have a teams championship. Why don't we take a look at that here, Dylan?
Yeah, this is a little bit closer up for this top spot, but only between 2 teams right now, with Regenbogen Motorsports only 15 points ahead of Woodaback Overdrive Racing. I'm excited to see this teams battle continue until we reach the end of the season. Of course, there's still a 3rd place battle as well, as there typically is, with Hypersport Racing only 11 points in front of Bowie Esports and Atomic Mecklenbeck, excuse me, can't pronounce that quite well, Racing at just 2 points back of Bowie Esports for 4th. So good battles here, and of course, when we look at the playoff picture, it's a little bit more of a slaughter than we necessarily saw with the PRL Truck Series in terms of the cutoff line. Yikes!
Yeah, and things much farther apart, so it's going to be a lot more difficult to change the situation on this one. Zemke, Cervantes, Lowendick, Knight are a much more distant hope. Not impossible, but considering they, at least in the case of both Lowendick and Knight, they kind of need a 0 from the top 4.
They need a win.
Yeah, it's a win or nothing for them. So watch them to probably make more drastic moves in the race today to try and get themselves up into the final 4 of the season of the playoffs. Looking at the qualifying, Tyler Justice, our current provisional pole sitter, but much like we saw last time, Teddy Lowendick is looking very, very fast. His second lap, a 31.073, good enough for second place.
Yeah, fast time. And if he can get a win here, obviously that is massive for not just himself and making the playoffs, but everybody else. That the cutoff line becomes something a little bit more difficult to kind of reach for, especially a driver like Jeff Evans, who is plus 27, but he's got to be worrying about the fact that if any of the drivers below him win, then all of a sudden he becomes in a must-win situation because of how far back he is from third and Richard Regan Jr. right now.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's all very much in flux on that front. People have to keep watching their back. The 56 of Richard Regan Jr. first lap was not quick. He's riding that high line all the way up against it. This is his second lap. So he seems to like getting up close to the wall to try and find the speed. Where is it going to put him? 31 flat. That will jump him up to third. Still not as quick as Teddy there on the front row, but at least on row 2, he's a lot higher up the order. What about the 57 here? Looks like he's finished his qualifying. That's Adam Zemke, so he's going to go no higher than 6. Everybody has actually just wrapped up because time is now run out. So our grid is set here for Chicagoland, round 8 in the Grand National Series. Tyler Justice has gotten pole over Teddy Lowendick, with Richard Regan Jr. starting from third. Thomas Sink will begin in P4, and Jeff Evans will be on the inside of row 3 and 5th, with Zemke starting from 6th position. Colton Lane, he'll be P7. He's got Danny Cervantes in the 8th spot. Nick Silver will start from 9th. Then in 10th, it is John Jones. Bradley Holly didn't seem to really get a good qualifying in. He starts from 11th, and the outside of row 6 will be Jacob Emery.
Yeah, we continue moving down. In the 13th, James Morgan with that iRacing paint scheme starting in 13th, while Dominic Beijing is going to be in 14th. Nick McLaughlin is in 15th. What a picture, what a shot he's got right there, with Nick Byer starting alongside him in row 8. Jim Westerfield in the 35, starting on the inside of row 9, with Mark Kalin on the outside for what a back. Abner Acosta not setting a lap time in 19th, while Dustin Scruggs in 20th. Chad Kibbe in the 23 Jordan brand machine starting in 21st, while Joseph Tebben, our good friend and colleague for RaceSpotTV, starting in the 06 in row 11 on the outside, with Reese Bogue and Matt Gagnon starting in row 12. Waylon Turner, Patrick Cowgill, and Nicholas Hunter round out your 27 car field.
All right, so already most of them are lined up and ready. This is such a unique track. It's a mile and a halfer. It is a tri-oval, but it's not like any other tri-oval I've ever seen, especially in NASCAR.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't go here, but I understand it for the market reasons. It's just what a cool track. You get a good look here from high above, and mile and a half. There are probably the straightest part of the track is coming off of turn 4 and into that, that tri-oval, while you get right out of the tri-oval and going into turn 1. Very short, straight sections. It's curving all the way down the backstretch, which, it's not too difficult when you are driving at speed, but it is such a cool look. And goodness, I mess up.
Yeah,
Look at that.
There you go. And it honestly makes sure that everybody has to pay attention at all times, because it's not just put the wheel straight and run your lane. You got to make sure that everybody around you is running the same arc that you are down the quote unquote back straight. But there, yeah, you can see a bit of the arc that it has where it eventually comes down into turn 3. But we're ready to go. Tyler Justice will have control of the field in the number 6. We saw Teddy Lowendick drop back a little bit in terms of race pace, but his qualifying seems to really be something here in this series. When can he convert that into a win here in the Grand National Series? And will he be able to take it to the likes of Richard Regan Jr., Bradley Holly, and Abner Acosta, who's definitely taken the lion's share of wins over recent history? Green flag is already out as we go racing here in Chicagoland and Joliet, Illinois. Sweet home Chicago seeing a nice clean start on the first lap. Justice leads Regan Jr., Evans in third. Lowendick falls back to fourth early. We'll see if he can stop that bleeding here. Thomas Sink right now underneath him in the orange and black number 48. Still trying to see if he can find an opening. They swing onto the back stretch once again. Zemke in 6 has not gained or lost positions. Bradley Holly also in the same position as he is down in 11th, back where he began. Thought maybe he'd have quicker inroads on the field, but maybe he's just biding his time. In fact, he's kind of fallen backwards now as he had a bad run, and that's causing 4 wide down into turn 1 here on lap 3.
Yikes, they make it through. That was pretty solid from all the drivers involved, but they're still 3 wide, and they're still turning left all the way down this backstretch. So we'll see if they keep forcing it here. Good paddling. Oh, boy. We're close.
12 having a moment and having to get out of it. Thankfully, no accident, but very close racing in this series. At the very early stages of this race, somebody way down onto the apron trying to use as much of that as they can. Mid-pack still pretty frantic, although the front has definitely evened out into a single file line.
Yeah, it's definitely singled out up front, but we're still getting good battling. And we're wrecking.
Yellow, yeah.
All right, well, that's a shame.
Nick Hunter, I see Chad Kibbe, Patrick Cowgill, and Byer all involved. Not sure if we have anybody else. Dustin Scruggs, I think, may have gotten a piece of it based on the damage he's got on his car. But this one sort of cycled its way backwards towards the tail end of the field quite quickly.
We'll have to take a look and see exactly what happened to cause that incident, because it was at the back of the field, and big mess ensued because of it as well. And here's the replay. See, there's 6 of Joey Tevin in that yellow in front of everything, and it happens all behind him. As the 15 looked like got turned. Oh, that's a big hit to the 109. The 15 just bouncing around. That was Nick Byer. We'll get another replay up for you here just to kind of get a good look at what happened in the early goings of this one while some drivers coming into the pits. Oh, really fast laps. It's not. I thought we were at Chicagoland, not iRacing Super Speedway.
We'll get a proper view of that one. Yeah, I think this is another case of driver not clear. And
they might have both been coming up and down to each other. Oh, that's a big hit from the 109. You got to put on the brakes when you see spins in front of you. Well, I guess everyone needs to put on the brakes, not just the 109.
Yeah, Byer, unfortunately, with a meatball flag. So does Nick Hunter. So I think they're done. See a couple cars in pit lane taking stops during that. And I think for the only one being a standard stop, it's James Morgan in the 12, who's going to get back out on the track in last of those running. Scruggs, Kibbe, Cowgill, Hunter, Byer all taking some repairs while they've got the opportunity under caution So now your order up at the front is Justice, Regan, and Evans, your top 3.
Nice day out.
It is very. I can tell you that because let's see, this is actually April, so yeah, you could get some nice days in April. I was going to say if this was actual November in the Midwest, it would be a lot more dreary. Cause
you know, you want to hear a good one? April 1st is my half birthday, born October 1st, and I love it that it's on April 1st because it's a joke. Did our producer just absolutely roast me from the background here?
I think he may have. I'm going to let you repeat that if.
Did he just call me a joke as well? Oh, where
he
is...
said it, not me. So.
All right, so I am DMing Arjuna Kankipati, Hugo Louise, the owner of RaceSpotTV.
Have a conversation with HR here.
I cannot work with this man, this producer. No evidence. I guess I really don't, except for eyewitness testimony.
I didn't hear a thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
You just let me. You just got Joe.
I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting in the middle of this. So it looks like drivers are ready to go as we are double file once again. Lights are off on the pace car. We're going to be released on lap 8 to restart this one. Only got about 3.5 laps of racing before we went to caution at Chicagoland Speedway. What can Tyler do with this restart? A little bit different rules than it is typically. He's into the restart zone. He can go anytime he wants, and he decides to go pretty quickly as the green flag is out. Richard Regan Jr. cannot jump to the bottoms. Jeff Evans fills the gap.
Yeah, try to make a move right down there. Evans into P2, but Richard Regan Jr. holds strong on the outside. Might have a bit of a run on the outside here, and he inches just barely ahead. But Ted Lowendick is there as well, just sitting back in 4th. Man, he needs this win. He really wants this win. And you know who wants to keep it from him more than anyone? Jeff Evans. Because Evans knows that he's probably out of the championship 4 if Lowendick gets a win.
That's a good point. So he's going to probably be willing to throw caution to the wind, especially by the end of the race, as we get a little side-by-side racing there between John Jones and Thomas Sink. But I think Jones going to win out. Sink falls back into line, as above him, the 57 of Zemke is going to use the speed on the way into the corner, but lacks it on the way out. Now he's under threat from the 24 of Silver.
Yeah, Silver trying to make some moves right here in P7 right now. Adam Zemke, remember, one of those playoff drivers that does need a win. So Danny Cervantes as well. A lot of the drivers who need the wins they're right there. They're in the conversation in the top 10. This is a big old mess back here.
Yeah, drivers still racing hard, and I'm noticing a trend that it tends to be middle and back of the field here in these early stages. Everybody trying to get position. Unfortunately, another case of a car just not being aware of his surroundings. Nick McLaughlin drifting into the car to his outside, gets tipped around, and collects a few other victims in the process.
Oh boy. Yeah, that is unfortunate right there, as I think what we'll see once we get to the replay is exactly what you said, Joe. Just not being aware that the car's on your outside, you drift up a little bit, and then you run them out of room. So I think that's what happened. We'll see if there's confirmation. It's 3 wide, too. So wonder if his spotter was telling him, hey, you're 3 wide here, bud. Maybe not. You got to be aware, though. You see that there's cars around you. You got to look in your mirrors to just see that.
Is there a spotters union and they're on strike today or something? Because we've seen a lot of almost silly mistakes out there in terms of cars making contact.
Not all spotters are all-knowing, I should say.
So yeah, Emery unfortunately getting the worst of that. He's having to pit in to try and repair his car because of that. Looks like we got a few others coming in. John Jones, I see, entering into pit lane. Dustin Scruggs, who was involved in the opening wreck, probably still trying to get a few more repairs done to finish it out. Yeah, just 2 cars to the outside. Maybe thought he had a bit more room and was sent up into the wall. Car actually doesn't look as damaged as I would have expected, so he may have gotten away with it.
If it weren't for those meddling kids.
I mean, Kalen's car, well, I guess actually I should double check here on the broadcast. I know on my screen it looks very Scooby-Doo, but
It usually does.
yeah, no, he doesn't have
Scooby-Doo. Oh,
he doesn't have the same paint that I see. Yeah, unfortunately. So the 62 will not catch those meddling kids today. But the Miracle Flow car is going to try and see what sort of growth he can have in his position as he gets this restarted. And we do still have 23 cars of our 26 still out on track, waiting for Emery, Hunter, and Beyer to try and get those cars repaired and get back out. But Hunter and Beyer are many laps down. Emery is 1 lap down, and we'll need a lucky dog to get back into the hunt on this one. Are we still lights on? Because I don't see them going too wide.
Well, ever since I was given the challenge from our RaceSpotTV team to not have a sim up, I'm dependent on Dustin Allis, our producer, to give us the information. He says yes, and he shows yes as well. There you go.
I know at the real track, I can look out my window and see what's going on, and so I can look out the window of my sim and see what's going on out on the track. So I have it open, and yes, the lights are still on, and Tyler Justice still following in the lead. Didn't get as much racing that last time either, and once again we go quickly back to caution. But it does seem like getting late into the season, we're starting to see drivers maybe get a little bit more aggressive, a lot less giving, a lot more taking, Dylan.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a little bit of just lackadaisical not paying attention, again, like your surroundings, because I feel like there's been a lot of giving and a lot of taking. Just maybe some, I feel like it's too harsh to say this, but boneheaded mistakes. Just not paying attention to your surroundings on specifically, 2 particular incidents. But I would say other than that, it's been good, hard racing.
Yes, we have seen some good stuff out there. It's been such a mix with drivers at times making some silly moves and sometimes looking like heroes on the opposite side of it. But we are now double file. The lights are off. Looks like Emery has gotten back out with only 1 lap lost to the leaders. So hopefully the 20 should try and be able to get back to the lead lap as long as he stays out of trouble. And if we get another yellow, he'll get waved back around and into it. But we have a couple drivers chatting, and we got some of that last week as well at Phoenix, where they actually had Holly get on because he is part of race control and kind of give them a little bit of a talking to. I wonder if we're going to see that start to arise again, Dylan.
I mean, usually I could join you in listening, but I can't right now. That's a shame. But we are going back to green flag racing right here. Tyler Justice, Richard Regan Jr., front row.
Green flag is out, and Justice gets a very good start. Richard is going to jump in front of Evans this time immediately. He does not leave it to chance and take second place. Lowendick's still in 4th. He's doing a good job of holding it down, even though he's not on the front row anymore in these restarts. But he's got 2 cars behind him on either side. That's Silver, aside Thomas Sink, who drifts up a little bit. Looks like that's going to cost him speed.
Yeah, going to cost a little bit of speed right here. 24 running the middle groove, a little bit lower down, but it looks like he's experimenting a little bit as we go into the back and see all these drivers in this mess. Regan Bogue in that 4, Reese Bogue, I should say, in that 4, leading in this group of cars from 13th on back.
Yep, and still as before, we're getting drivers racing quite a bit side by side in the mid-pack. You can see there, including Bradley Holly, who is up to 10th. He's been staying out of some of the messes that we've been seeing. In fact, he is riding very high behind this front group that we're watching right now. And Regan Jr., look at this. He is now all over the bumper of the number 6. Is he tired of playing second fiddle here?
Maybe a little bit. as he sets that fastest lap time right there. Remember, this run has not seen too many green flag laps, but it's given the tires, even though they're not stressed too much, a chance to just cool off and get reset for longer runs. I don't know if these drivers want to settle in for a long run, though, because we've seen yellows come out quite frequently in this race already. Look at that big move to the dogleg, the apron in the dogleg, and now down the inside of Justice is Regan Jr. He wants that top spot, side by side, exited 2.
So trying to see if the bottom will work for him. So far, hasn't gotten him the lead, but he's hanging tough with that 6. He's going to send it in. Can't get clear of Tyler Justice, so he'll have to hold the bottom once again as they fly off the corner, almost equal to one another. In fact, very close to leading that lap. They were a mere 17 thousandths apart at the line. This one will do it for sure, as the 56 is now your new leader.
56 gets that lead in that special scheme he's got going on. Let's watch what's going on for 8th. Adam Zemke on the outside trying to get into 7th and past Danny Cervantes. These two, they need a win pretty much to guarantee themselves into the championship 4. They're going to race each other hard. Look at that run that Zemke has. He might make a move on Thomas Sink here.
I did find it interesting that we saw Regan running the high line in qualifying, and I haven't seen a whole lot of drivers doing it here in the race itself, but Zemke looks like he's making a higher line work decently well.
Yeah, he is. And, Chicagoland, it's probably got a few different grooves working for itself right now. Might as well go where they ain't, right?
Exactly. Maybe it'll help you out. Whoa, that was a little bit sketchy there. The 12 of James Morgan almost getting into the side of Reese Bogue, but they'll get away with it. And they'll carry on as they were. We head over to the 66 in the meantime of Dominic Begine racing alongside Bradley Holly. Holly now up to 9th if he can clear the Canadian. They send it into turn 3. Up in front of him, up next, it's going to be Danny Cervantes, his teammate.
Now, that could have been disastrous, but we take a look at some of the positions gained where Dustin Scruggs up 9, Joey Tebbett as well. How about that run that our colleague in the 06 is having into 13th, right behind Abner Acosta. I don't know if Joseph would even say that he's on the same level as Abner, but hey, for now he is.
Yeah, and you got to take what you can get. The 25 and Thomas Sink fight off of turn 4. Looks like Bradley Holly's going to get a very good run out of that one, approaching the back of Thomas Sink, who's kind of going backwards since we picked him up early in this race, all the way down to 8th. He's lost 4 positions, and our producer giving the obvious pun on that one. I'm more creative than that.
Just a tad. I think, I think, Joe, I think you're a creative guy.
I try to be, anyways. Plus, I'm almost sure I've used that pun before, so I can't do the same thing twice. Anyways, carrying on watching the racing as they cross the line once again, down to a half hour left to go in this 45-minute event. So a third of the way through. Back up forward here to the 51 of Jeff Evans, who has definitely lost touch with Justice, but that's still Teddy Lowendick in the gray and purple machine right behind him.
Yeah, still just there, right? And he's doing a good job of just staying there. Nick Silver has gained some spots in the meantime, as well as Zemke and Cervantes. 3 of the guys who need a win pretty much to get into the championship 4 are in the top 7. And then there's Jeff Evans, who I think Evans, and this might be a wild thought, he should focus, and he is, more on defending from those guys than necessarily winning this race, because he's 27 points to the good. Oh boy. Hang on to her. Pinching down low.
Huge scrum here towards the back of the pack, 3 wide coming out of turn 4, and that's Mark Kalin. I don't think he'll appreciate another 3 wide moment after what happened to him last time, getting pinched in the middle. Looks like John Jones ahead, on the high side of Reese Bogue in that number 4 green and black machine as they drift off of 2 onto the curved back straight. 4 does not have the speed that the 90 does. John Jones pulling ahead slightly before once again he's got to go the long way around here through 3 and 4.
Still trying to make the move work and has momentum. Should be clear going into 1, but there's also momentum in behind him in case of James Morgan. Yeah, really good job actually by Bogue. I didn't think he had it in him, and Morgan's there. A little bit of a wiggle from him. Come on, John Jones should pass him here, should he not? Yeah, he does.
Yep, he's clear. Bogue gets back into line. Reese, though, is still 8 positions up from where he started. Remember, he did not set a qualifying time. Been doing a great job despite not having the track position at the start, but he's still in the lower half of the field. He's got work to do. I'm sure he's going to do his best on that one. He's actually been outdone by a car about 2 positions in front of him. Joey Tebben is up 9 positions in the 06.
The 4 got really loose, and I don't know if it was because he just got loose or maybe it came from contact with Mark Kalin. I'd be more willing to say the air just kind of sent him up, packed on the left rear.
And it looks like that has interrupted his momentum because he falls back behind Kalin quite quickly. So commentator's curse in a way, I suppose. I was just praising all the positions he's gained, and now he's lost 2 since we started following him. Kalin now jumps up into 15th. In spite of that car being hit on either side, it looks like it is still relatively fast as we go back to the 66 of Dominic, who is currently racing with Acosta.
Yeah, this is a good battle with seeing what grooves work in each driver's favor. 66, no match for Abner at the moment. We run back to the lead. Still, this battle rages on, and it's really tight. I mean, you could basically fit maybe a stack of papers, maybe 2, in between Justice and Regan Jr. But look at that. Gets right up to the bumper. See all that tape on the grill opening. Good look there. You know, a lot of teams will seal that off for qualifying, in the real world at least, and they'll have this plate that they put on there to... Oh, as Dustin Scruggs heads into the pits, wonder if this is unscheduled. It probably is. He's in the back of the field as is. But yeah, a lot of teams will seal that off. They'll have a plate that they'll just tape on there, and yeah, it's going to make the engine hot. But guess what? Hotter runs quicker, but it makes it, terminates the engine quicker as well. But when you only need it for a lap or 2, might as well do it.
Been kind of watching Jeff Evans in the background too. I think he's creeping back up to Tyler Justice recently as we take a look at Adam Zemke, who is chasing on Cervantes. And this is for 6th position between the pair of them. They've got to watch out because Bradley Holly is approaching from behind. We've seen how quick he can be when he wants to. He's pulling along Thomas Sink, who maybe has stopped the bleeding somewhat.
Somewhat. As 56 gets really tight, and that opens the door for Tyler Justice, but it's shut once again. Now we're starting to see all the pitters here as Cowgill goes in as well, Patrick Cowgill. So curiosity is starting to rise in terms of pit stop strategies. We run back to Sink and the 5 of Acosta, who got pretty tight up against the wall, but kept it out there. The run, though, does go to Sink in the 48. Still very evenly matched race cars at the moment. Really tight again, though.
Some hard racing, but Acosta's got the momentum. He's going to pull down to the front of Thomas Sink and hook back up with Bradley Holly as he follows him through. Next on their list is Adam Zemke in that 57 Chevy. And we head over to the 60 and, the 4 and the 90. We've seen them close before. They can't seem to get away from one another. And Morgan in the 12 can't seem to get away from the drama himself.
Yeah, he really can't. And, these cars are driving pretty quick right now, even though they're in the back half of the field. They've been putting in some good battling, some good effort. And the intervals from driver to driver pretty tight all the way through this field. There's a good battle. The 12 going up high on the outside line and trying to use that momentum that he builds to chase after the 4 of Reese Bogue at the moment. And he is gaining some speed on corner exit. almost helps that these outside walls and the backstretch curve to the outside. It almost helps you kind of drift up, get a little bit tight on corner exit. The wall isn't completely straight. As we now go back to the lead, the 56 has been caught by the 6 down the inside, and now we're battling for the lead here.
So Justice is not content to just ride behind once Regan has taken this over. He let him go for a little bit. Now he's trying to get it back. They've been keeping right next to each other all race long and have not been separated pretty much since the beginning. This time, looks like Justice is going to have the nose ahead. He's going to lead this lap over Regan Jr. Will he pull the same move and just break it deeper down into the turn? Not quite. Looks like Richard Regan Jr. using that high line. We saw him pull in the qualifying, but I thought there was going to be an over-under. Instead, he's going to give a little bump draft to the number 6. Maybe they're trying to work together to get ahead of Evans.
I don't know why they would be doing that. I think it was just, all right, I don't want to burn these tires up too quickly here, and you beat me here, so let's just kind of ride around, because as long as you stay with them, you're fine, right? You're fine. You might not get as many bonus points as you want, but I think he's led quite his fair share of laps in this one as we go back to the World Adventures of Abner Acosta, who comes up, 184, and him almost made contact at Bradley Holly. I guess that's Acosta doing business with him.
Very nice. And they've raced against each other plenty throughout the history of this series. Tries to drift up in front. No cut back from Holly, who comes in behind that purple and white machine of Abner Acosta. And much like we saw with Richard Regan Jr., just deciding to let him have the position. Now, I'm keeping an eye on Scruggs. As you mentioned, Cowgill's the only other driver to have pitted of those who tried to take an early stop here. But Scruggs, who is 1 lap down, is a 1.5 seconds faster per lap than the leaders. So he is making up a lot of time. But it was quite an early pit stop, so he's going to pay for it later when everybody else is on fresher tires.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure about that move from Scruggs. He's also trapped a lap down, so the odds of there being caution in the time that he spends a lap down while trying to chase the rest of this pack, to me, the risk of being caught a lap down, getting the free pass is, well, it's not worth the risk, is it? I feel like he's put himself in a difficult situation to come back from. If the pit cycle happens and he comes out with the lead, sure, that's one thing, but you'll get swamped immediately. I'm not so sure about that strategy.
Yeah, he kind of needs the caution to fall his way, not just because of avoiding...
Such a short window, though, for that caution to fall.
It is, yeah. He's going to need luck on his side. To his credit, you talked about being trapped a lap down, though. He's actually pretty close to Tyler Justice. He's probably going to get that lap soon, so that hopefully for him won't be a threat for very long now that he's survived his first 9 laps under green flag racing conditions. As we take a look at the battle down into turn 1 here between Sink, Bajin, Holly, and Cowgill. Ooh, a little wiggle there from the 66, not looking all that steady. They've been out on these tires for 42 laps now. I'm sure they're feeling it.
Yeah, they are certainly feeling it at this point, and we got to start to think about when these drivers do need to come into the pits, and that's not Dominic. That's not Dominic.
That's the driver that was battling them earlier. That's Holly, who's just below in the 184. Another bobble for Dominic, who has to try and save it. The 06 gets tipped. The 11 checks up big time. No wreck, but it was heart in your throat moments.
I wonder if Bradley's what he's thinking about that whole situation. Look at how. Oh, whoa! That was.
Bajin, I think, clipped the wall, but Holly was down into pit lane now, so he is calling it here a little bit earlier than some of his rivals. Again, at risk to falling a lap down. Justice, Regan Jr., and Evans all carry on along with pretty much the top 10 of the field. Are they going to respond, or are they going to try and hold out and trap him in case of a yellow?
Well, you can go approximately 60 or so laps on a full tank of fuel here under green flag conditions. We've had 2 caution periods, so I do wonder if some drivers will attempt to stay out for another 15 or so laps here. I don't know if it's what the right move is, actually, with the current timing and the possibility of being trapped a lap down if you come into the pits right now. So there's definitely a few aspects to kind of think about, kind of ponder at the moment. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. You will have to come into the pits at some point in this race at this point. And if it stays green the rest of the way, the drivers who came into the pits now, they should have the upper hand.
Silver and Bajin are now pitting in, but Justice, Regan Jr., Evans, Lowendick, Acosta, Zemke, they all stay out up at the front of the fields. The one thing that I will say is that Scruggs looks like right now it's working out. He's he's quite a ways ahead of them, but yeah, it won't hold forever. I think okay. Now we've got Evans and Regan Jr. responding and pitting. They might. I don't know if they're going to get leapfrogged because it has been about 2 or 3 laps, but who knows? That might be enough that with like I said, a second and a half a lap more pace advantage, those drivers are going to be flying.
Yeah, it's Scruggs. He needs caution right now to hopefully stay on this lead lap. So either Justice in, Ted Lowendick. It's everyone for the most part is coming in, but Joey Tebben, who
is anybody surprised at that call?
No, I think he. Oh boy, he's gonna hope that these cars wreck. He's gonna hope it. Gonna really hope it. Because that would help him.
We have cars on different tire strategies right now, and some of them look incredibly unsteady. Reese Bogue is one of those. He has not pitted in that number 4. He's still out there, and it is looking tail happy. And in fact, he's got to avoid trying to running into Kalen on top of things. There we go. Reese now pits.
Zoinks.
Tebben keeps on going, hoping for that yellow. He does have, a majority of the field trapped a lap down right now. So
he needs the caution now, pretty much.
He does, yeah.
Which, it could happen with the way these drivers are running. The numbers you see on the right side of your screen are their pit lap, the last time they went into the pits, not how long their stint is. So Kalen last went into the pits on 12, Morgan 6, Wayne 12, Sean Jones 12, and Chad Kitty 6. Scruggs, of course, is ahead of most of the other drivers who just went into the pits, but he is going to get swallowed up. At this point, Tebben needs it in the next 2 or 3 laps of caution. If not, come down to the pits. He tried. He could get it.
Scruggs, I mean, he's still got some distance back to Silver, Regan Jr., Cervantes. Looks like Justice also in that group. And then another gap to those back. I actually think this is working out fairly well for Dustin, but he probably will need a caution at some point because as time goes on, it's going to get worse and worse as more cars catch him. But as it stands right now, he actually has it worked out to a healthy advantage.
Yeah, for sure. But look at that, 3 wide, and problem areas all over. But when you have those fresh tires, you're able to keep the car planted so much better once the grip is needed through the corners. It's just all these cars on, different laps in as Cowgill heads into the pits again. Not the day for him, not the night for him. More drivers heading into pit road right now. Only 4 have yet to come in this cycle. What you see?
So Kibbe in the 23 has failed to pit safely in.
Oh, boy.
He's spun. You can see him recovering just now, but he was facing perpendicular to the track. And I don't know if he had anybody else involved in it, but clearly did not make it down to the cones without incident. Looks like we've got a replay on it here, and I don't see anybody around him. Yeah, just self-spin.
Yeah, an off-track adventure. Didn't even get turned completely 90 degrees, so Tebben's a little bit upset about that. I mean, hey, Tebben's, we get a view of him right now. We'll see the speed difference. He could go another 7 or so laps at this point, which, hey, you're already there. 14 drivers have unlapped themselves, so, you know, or 13 more, I should say. We come out at a net loss no matter what happens at this point. Just a little bit less of a loss if a caution came out in the next couple laps. I don't think the strategy has worked well for you, buddy.
It's not the only one, because Morgan is still out there on 48 lap old tires. Colton Lane, 42 laps since he last stopped. Highest driver to have pitted is Tyler Justice. And here comes Joey down to pit lane. He's given up the ghost, and he's going to make it just in time with a puff of smoke.
Just a tiny puff of smoke right there for the 06. Man, if we have a caution, I'd like to ask if, you know, there was a point where he said to himself, I do this all the time and it never works. Let's do it again.
I think he figures if you keep gambling on the long shot, eventually the long shot's going to come up, right?
Yeah, well, I've got a timeshare to sell to him, and I think that there's a certain race he should go to in a week and a half in a certain city that he would help others make a lot of money at.
Right now, this is the 12 of Morgan, who is our leader. Like I said earlier, he has not pitted recently. He has been into the pits once earlier in the race. I believe, no, it was a full stop. I think he took tires on that one, I'm seeing, because it was 14 seconds. So looks like he did take tires. So did Colton Lane, who was a bit more recent than that. Oh, but Colton is trying to pit in, and he's losing control of the car. He's going to catch it just in time. It was a full Tokyo drift around the corner by the 60. I hope we get a replay on that one. But much like Tebben, he eventually had to give it up, and he is going to take those tires, hoping that he can try and make up what ground he can, sprinting to the end. Watch the 60. Look at this.
That's
great
impressive.
Control.
That's impressive. I was going to say I know a guy who can get you the replay, but, you know, he got us the replay. That was an impressive drift. Now only one driver who has not come into the pits this cycle is James Morgan, who, I mean, at this point, it's kind of, you're going to have a net negative no matter what. Maybe you should just stay out until you can't anymore at this point. You know, there's a point of return, no return, right? Where you don't lose that much considerable time, but you stay out, and then you're going to continue hurting yourself exponentially each lap. At this point, though, I feel like he's already ruined his race, and if he can just stay on the lead lap, that's going to be a big thing. That only comes with caution.
I think there's a term for this, and it's sunk cost fallacy.
Ah, I love it. I love it. I love using those terms. Very accountant, finance based.
Actually, it's a psychological term,
okay,
psychology
term,
I believe.
True.
Yeah,
you can use it. You can apply it to certain circumstances. I thought it was a racing term. No,
well, I mean, in this case, it definitely is. He's sticking with it. I mean, honestly, though, to credit to the 12, there's nothing he can do but just keep going at it and hope, because if he does pit, then he gives it up and he is going to lose the spots no matter what. So might as well keep gambling and hope that it sticks with it. But we got 12 minutes left to go. So will other drivers come in? Will the tires be worth that much, though? Or will he get sent to the back anyways? But regardless, Tyler Justice needs to catch up to him by about 15 seconds. And the lap times between them, it was a 31.8 for Tyler. James was a 32.9. So it's about a second apart from one another.
Can I give you another term that I love?
Go for it.
A Pyrrhic victory.
Another good one. Another excellent term.
There we go. It's when you win, but at great loss and great cost, that it almost feels like you didn't win in the first place.
We've won, but at what cost? And
yes.
I think, I don't know. If Morgan wins, I don't think that'll be at what cost. I think that'll just be, we won, honestly.
No, I don't think there is a sunk cost fallacy in this, or a Pyrrhic victory in this race at this point anymore, unless you are James Morgan. That's the 25 says, hey, Jeff, I want you to get out of our way. Evans is defending because he knows what is at stake if they get by him.
Yeah, and Lowendick and Cervantes are for position, But Lowendick has got slightly fresher tires, definitely has better tires than Cervantes, so he's going to make an easy pass around him, about 4 laps difference between them. Look at the speed on Teddy. We were saying last week he looked like he didn't have pace in the race itself. Oh, big bobble there from Evans. He gathers it up, and that easily allows the 72 by. Late in the race, Teddy has made the right call on the pit stop, and the car looks like a rocket ship.
It's just good old Teddy making some moves right now, and that's huge. Evans is right now trying to put up such a impenetrable wall, so to get by him, get moving on your own, is such a large scale win at this point in the race. The only issue for Lowendick, and if Cervantes, Costa all then get around Evans, is that look at the gap between Lowendick and Richard Regan Jr. and also the provisional leader in Tyler Justice, who's in second. He slides up!
I think he was running out of some grip there. Cervantes to his high side. Eventually, he was able to get out of the throttle and decided not to run him off the road. And now Cervantes says, fine, you take the spot, allows the 5 into 6th position to catch up to Evans. But you're right, yeah, Lowendick has 3.5 seconds to catch up to Richard Regan Jr. And I think I just heard Morgan call that he's pitting in this time. Yes, he is coming in. So I was about to ask you how many laps they could go because he was approaching 60, and well, there you go.
Yeah, 60 laps was the mark I had originally said. That's 90 miles. He went 64 laps on that stint. So he saved as much as he could and just couldn't save anymore. So that's worst case scenario for James Morgan. He's going to fall all the way back, at least a lap down in this one. But hey, it was a good try, and cautions had come out. He would have been able to get tires on and going again. But now we go back to what has been the situation with Justice in the lead. Regan Jr. now is second back. I think Regan Jr. made a big mistake on that last lap because Lowendick dipped under 3 seconds behind Regan Jr. So I wonder if he's having some problems.
Could be. The difference between them is only 1 lap in terms of pit stops. So Richard and Teddy practically on the same strategy there. I don't think there's much advantage on that one unless Ted just with much better pace, which would be impressive because Richard is incredibly fast as a driver. So Teddy is really showing some improvement on the oval side if that's the case, that he's just genuinely running him down, or maybe he likes the set a little bit more the way it races. As we look at Richard's camera here, watching the VR headset user try and hold on to Justice to the end. It's 8 minutes left to go. And Tyler, ever since he retook the lead, remember we watched them battling before the pit stop sequence and he passed Richard. It's looked like the 6 has been in much better control of this race.
Is that just like a random room in the Amazon warehouse?
I mean, it looks like a garage to me.
Okay,
Do you not have stuff in your garage?
Well, I don't have a garage. I don't own a home. I'm not Joe. When you're in your mid-20s, I don't think you can think about owning a
True.
home.
This is true. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. Just fine. You can brag all you want. Tyler Justice is currently focused as can be. You think he's going to shred some riffs on that guitar if he wins?
Oh, I'm sure he'd love to. We'll have to ask him if he could give us a quick tune and celebration if he manages to bring this one home. He still has that 1.5 second buffer here. And we have seen a number of drivers looking like they are fairly light on the wheel. We've been seeing some sawing away at it. So I think everybody kind of suffering a bit from ill handling in these conditions. Back to Acosta. He is now ahead of Evans. He caught him and passed him, and he needs about a second to get to Teddy Lowendick. We've got 6 minutes left, and with about half a minute per lap, well, we've got about 12 laps to go for him to do it.
Well, still trying to do it. It's 2.5 seconds between Lowendick and Regan Jr. and Acosta is starting to fall a little bit back. Oh, Bradley Holly. Get that Star Destroyer out of the way. He's heading straight into the wall.
Yeah,
looking like a droid, and the Clone Wars facing Anakin.
Yeah, I think he went a little high into 1 and 2 and scraped the wall. Had to try and pull it off of it. That cost him a few positions, no doubt. Here it is right here, trying to ride that air cushion, and it did not save him.
Yeah, you got he almost spun it on the exit. Good save by him right there, especially with cars around him. Once you get sucked up to the wall, you're almost sealed up against it, right? It's hard to kind of unplaster yourself from it. Look at this. This is a really aggressive battle right here, and Boga's just ever so slightly trying to move Tebben out of the way, and these two have come close to making contact a few times in this race, and I wonder if they're a little steamy at each other in their cockpits, as Tebben makes a nice move around Boga right there, and he is only half a tenth back from Beijing for top 10.
I was going to say...
now into the wall! Oh, man!
Run out of room as Dominic kept feeding upwards, and now he tries to go down. There's a car there, too. And Reese is not happy about that one over the radio. Dominic gives up the ghost. He lets him go. I wonder if he... let's see. Yeah, 28-lap-old tires, so he's got a bit of wear on those things. It looks like it's unsteady. Tebben, only 19 laps on his tires. And as I was about to say before that accident happened, or nearly happened, I don't think this is working out too bad for those that went long, because Joey has fresh tires. He's blasting back through the field. Morgan, I don't think he's going to be able to make as much ground up. He's actually on the lead lap. He unlapped himself and is in 16th. And again, he's blasting by all the cars that have older tires.
He is really flying right now, but again, doesn't really matter at the grand scheme of things. He only has under 4 minutes to catch up. If caution came out now, it would end the race. Speaking about cautions, Cervantes almost took out fellow playoff contender Adam Zemke. You know what the unfortunate thing is for these guys? You do so much running in the top 10. It doesn't really matter because Jeff Evans is that cut line, and he's in 5th right now. So, oh man, Lowendick is catching up to Regan Jr., but I just don't think there's enough time.
Yeah, last lap was a 32.647. Regan with a 32.761. This one, Regan with a 32.755. Lowendick, 32.647. About a tenth of a lap faster, you're right. I think he's just a little bit too far back. So too little too late, but still impressive. And I think Ted should be proud of himself for the speed that he's been showing. And it looks like it'll get him a podium. I'll have to check and see if has he been on the podium before here in the Grand National Series?
You're talking about Ted?
Yeah.
Oh man, let me just pop into the race chat and ask Joey Tebben, our stat man. You think he would appreciate that?
I think he might. I'm actually checking we have statistics table. So
with podiums though?
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I'm checking.
That's fair. I have that same table up, and I would like to see it. Maybe there are, based on the open wheel and sports car series that we have here, but I just don't think so.
Yeah, I think it is wins only from what we're seeing, unfortunately.
It's a failure on Joey's part.
Yeah, we'll have to get on his case. Regardless, we do have a race going on, so while we're looking at spreadsheets, minute and a half left to go, and Justice is about 2.5 seconds ahead now. Lowendick's got it down to 1.3 seconds on Richard, but he just won't have the pace. This is the much more interesting battle between Silver and Zemke. In fact, Zemke is going to dive low and drift back up to carry the speed, and the 57 machine might actually get the overlap here. In fact, he does on Silver. Can he finish the job and take himself 6th place?
It's just wild, though, because these two are fighting just to lose the least amount of points. Evans is a spot ahead that's another point that they've got. Well, Zemke and Cervantes specifically, even though Silver is flying right now, I mean, Zemke and Cervantes are going to lose more points at the cut line, almost making it a mathematical must-win as Tebben. Man, what a race he's been having. I'm so impressed with him right now.
He is coming so fast.
Please don't make me regret that.
I wonder, he's got 2 laps to go. Could he maybe catch these guys? Well, he's got to finish up with Cervantes, who's not going to let him go. Maybe not. Oh, and Cervantes gets loose. That'll let Joey go.
2 laps left.
Can he chase down for a potential 6th place? That would be a real coup here. Or do we have 1 lap to go, actually? White flag is out for Tyler Justice. He didn't quite have enough time. I think I believe that is going to be it because he had about 31 seconds left and they've been running 32.5-second laps here. There it is. White flag being waved by Barney. Justice planned this one out to perfection, and I think he maybe played it cool in the middle of the race. He let Richard pass him, and once he repassed him, that was it because Tyler ran away, and he is going to take the win, shaking his fist in celebration here at Chicagoland.
Dub City for Justice, who gets his 3rd ever PRL Wednesday win, and much deserved run for the driver of that number 6 machine. Regan Jr., Ted Lowendick, your podium, while Abner Acosta and Jeff Evans round out the top 5. Joey Tebben could not get past Adam Zemke. I wonder if he had a problem or a mistake.
No, he ran out of time. He cut that down to 0.3 of a second. He was pushing.
I mean, he was, and I wonder if he had speed for a top 5 if that race went on even longer.
If he pit, I think 2 laps sooner, yeah, I think a top 5 was there for him. But that's not the man who won. It is this man in the number 6, Tyler Justice, who is going to take the victory and get himself another in the win column for his stat sheets as he burns it down. Let's go through our full results, though, as Tyler Justice is your victor over Richard Regan Jr., and Teddy Lowendick is in 3rd. Then you've got Abner Acosta finishing P4 after starting 19th. Jeff Evans was 5th, exactly where he started, interestingly, as Nick Silver was 6th and Adam Zemke was 7th. Joey Tebben came from 22nd to finish 8th today. Reese Bogue finished P9 with Danny Cervantes in 10th. And what about the next 10 here, Dylan?
Dustin! Oh, man. Dylan
2 D names. It's too close.
Scruggs now, you know. Thomas Sink in 11th with Dominant Vision in 12th. Mark Kalin, Colton Lane, James Morgan. Recovered pretty decently right there from Morgan. Bradley Holly, who is going to be kicking himself at the 16th place finish. Scruggs, Westerfield, and McLaughlin finish on the lead lap, while Matt Gagnon finishes 1 lap down in 20th. I'll just take the rest here. Kibbe, Jones, Emery, Hunter, Cowgill, Bear, and Turner are your 27. You want to hear a wild stat, Joe Peak? I don't think you're ready for this.
Okay.
Most wins out of any driver in the PRL Grand National Series this year. Tyler Justice came into this race 8th in points. Guess what? It's his 3rd top 5. He has had a dreadful... It's his 3rd top 10. I lied. It's his 5th top 10. But he has had a dreadful season outside of those wins and those rare top 10s, I guess, if they're not wins. 18 points in the first race, 16 in round 6, and 21 in round 7. If not for those disastrous runs, he could be a championship competitor in this one. I mean, I think it's too late now, but it's a good bounce back from the last 2 weeks.
They say timing is everything, so maybe this will get him back into it, get him back in the groove. Let's chat with him and see what he thinks about how this race went. Our latest victor here in Chicagoland, Tyler Justice, congratulations. We saw you get passed by Richard a little bit early in the race, and then suddenly it looked like the car came alive and you repassed him before the pit stops. Were you just kind of biding your time and saving the car?
Yeah, just a little bit there. We had jumped out the start of that race like 0.4 or half a second, and then we had that quick caution, and it racked us back up, and he was on my bumper, and he was just kind of sitting there, and eventually it got to the point where we were pushing a pace that I really wasn't comfortable pushing to keep the rears on it for the late run. So I kind of let him go there once he got underneath me, because if I would have tried to battle him on the outside there, running that middle, I would have been way too loose at the end of the run. So I decided just to let him go and try to keep, you know, enough pace on him where he tries to push his car a little bit, try to get his tires burnt up. And I think he got a little free there right before the pit stops, and I was able to get around him and create a little bit of a gap. And I think what really helped me was coming down a lap later for the pit stop, so I had 1 lap fresher tires, and I came out pretty much right behind him and was able to get by him there. And shout out to Richard, though. He raced me clean. That was a fun battle trying to manage the tires there. I love it when the car is loose like that and you have to, you know, manage your stuff. It's a lot more fun like that. So that was fun. Shout out to all the drivers in the league, and we had a couple cautions there early, but they figured it out, and we got a good long run there to the end. So excited to get another win.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that it went green there. With you coming in before Richard, did you feel a little bit nervous? Did you worry that maybe that yellow would return and he would kind of hold tight to wait you out and see if he could trap you down?
Yeah, you never know, man. It's so tough, especially with the way these races are with the time limits. You don't exactly know, you know, laps and whatnot. So I have race labs up, so it kind of tells me an estimated, you know, what you're gonna run and what the time's looking out to be. So managing the strategy around all that was kind of interesting, but it was fun nonetheless.
We were listening to Dylan talk about some of how your stats have been. Get a little bit of a interesting incident there on replay. We're listening to him talk about some of your stats. It sounds like this might be kind of your bounce back. Do you use this as your springboard to get in your groove again?
I hope so, man. It's been hit or miss. I think this is the 3rd win in season 4 here. So but the other races I've been on, I've either, you know, not done well or crashed. So just trying to put a little bit of consistency together. But I mean, whenever we hit it, and tonight was a lot of fun. Just glad we could put another one together, and hopefully, you know, we can build on this.
Well, congratulations on the win, and hope you'll pick up the guitar and get yourself a little ditty to celebrate the victory.
Yes, sir. And let me give a shout out to all my teammates at Phase 2 Chassis Works, everyone at Nexus Esports. Thank everybody in the league, and thank you guys for broadcasting tonight.
That was Tyler Justice, winner in the number 6 machine. He was followed home by Richard Regan Jr. I believe Dylan has caught up with him.
Yes, and Richard, you were flying in that race, but unfortunately, there was just one driver in front of you. Really solid job, though. Was there just a point at the final run where you said, okay, I'm going to stop pushing. I got to focus on just keeping second, because there was a flyer from Ted Lowendick coming in behind.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I know the first run I was pushing a little bit, but that second run I didn't even feel like I was pushing that much. I'm just pretty inexperienced here, especially in the Grand National car at this track. So, you know, I just got to get more seat time and have more free time during the week when you're racing against someone like Tyler. Like Abner's usually always fast, but Tyler, he's been putting in a lot of laps every week, and definitely shows. So I'm just looking forward to next week at Dover, and then 3 weeks we go to Auto Club to finish out the year.
Well, once we do get to Dover and then Auto Club, obviously, you are not only in the conversation for the championship as a whole in Season 4, which definitely looks to be going your way, but also in the playoffs. Have you been focusing on that at all? I mean, I believe you have now locked yourself into the next round. In the championship 4 on points alone, looks like it's going to be you, Abner Acosta, Bradley Holly, and then most likely Jeff Evans. You feel like you got a good shot at that once we do get to Auto Club?
Yeah, I think we got a good shot. When we went there earlier this year to Auto Club, it was an awesome 3-wide battle for the lead to the last like 15 minutes of the race, and I think I was able to pull out a couple second gap over Abner there. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it plays out. There's gonna be some fast guys, so you know, when you get to that race, you just got to race the guys that you're racing for the championship at that point, and hopefully we can have enough speed there to go out and just dominate.
I like that mindset that you got going on for yourself there, but I don't think I've seen you with this particular scheme in the 56. Am I just, misremembering or not seeing it? Because it does look like a new scheme you got going there.
Definitely misremembering. I've run this paint scheme a lot. Yeah. So, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so we're in pink all October, and now I get to break out some more colors. So this is probably the paint scheme I've ran the most this year, though.
All right, yeah, I just have no memory of anything other than what's 2 feet in front of me and 2 minutes behind me. So I appreciate your time, Richard. Congratulations on the second place finish, and best of luck the next 2 weeks.
Thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to Mission 22, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Susan G. Komen, Neonism Paint. You need a paint, go to facebook.com/neonism. Tell them the PRL sent you. Everybody at Regenbogen Motorsports, Jay-Z Photography, everyone at PRL, and you guys at RaceSpot.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right, you take care, and congrats once again. And Joe, I think we got one more driver to talk to, and I think you're gonna get him to do a shoey, right?
We'll try to. It's Teddy Lowendick with, from what we understand, his very first podium on the oval side. He has taken a win at the Indy Road Course on PRL's Oval Series, so depends on whether or not you count that. Teddy, it looked like the car was pretty darn fast at the end. What do you attribute that speed to? Because you were actually reeling in Richard Regan.
I don't know. I put in some good practice this week. Just try to run a few laps every day. Started on Sunday and felt comfortable. It was fun. The car was a looser setup than what we've had, and it just felt better this week than it has the past couple of weeks. I was surprised I was actually catching up to Richard there at the end. I don't know if I got stuck behind Jeff there. I felt like he and I were running the same pace early on. Maybe it was the fact that I pitted a little bit earlier or a little later than they all did. It was only one lap, so I don't know. But yeah, it was fun. It's kind of like a rabbit at a dog track, right? You're trying to catch up to it the whole time. So it was fun.
Well, it looked like it was fun out there with how you were making those passes at the end. Next week we go to Dover. Do you see yourself repeating this sort of performance? Because now I think that's twice in a row you've qualified on the front row.
I don't even own the track, so I don't know. Let's hope so. Honestly, starting second's a little bit of a disadvantage because you don't want to beat the leader to the line or you get a black flag. I think. At least I expect that's what it is. The inexperience kind of shows. Feel bad because I think I checked up Tom there on the initial start and he lost a couple positions because of it. But yeah, let's put in some good practice this week and come back next week and hope we have the same result. Pretty much have to win to make it to the next round. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and one last one. I don't have your camera on our view here. Are we going to get a shoey out of you for the podium, or is that safe for a win?
Do it.
Well, it's upstairs. I have a stock of it now. But no, I only do them when I win now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. The first one, it made sense because I had never won. I was like, if we get a podium, let's do it. And then I got a win. I was like, well, I can't go back now. And yeah, so...
You've set expectations, but I mean, regardless, congratulations. I mean, your adaptation to the oval side has been impressive, and go enjoy yourself, sir.
Well, thank you guys. You have a good night. Thanks for the broadcast, all that stuff. Appreciate it each week.
That's Teddy Lowendick, who has gone from the roadside to the oval side and taken to it like a duck to water, it seems. So let's close out with a big thank you, of course, to our team here today, Dylan and Dustin, not to be confused with one another. And don't forget, when we head back next week, both series are going to be at the same track at Dover. That should be fun on November 15th for both the Truck Series and for the Grand Nationals. Until next time, though, I'm Joe Peak. Race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.